I'll be reading a story tonight in pieces called Harvest. It appeared in this lovely little journal named Inisagam. Flavia is among the last to leave, and so she has been recruited to pack. The truck rumbles up from the highway, pulling a huge sail of dust behind it, shuddering to a stop. The apples rattle in their bins. Flavia scoops them up 4 at a time in gloved hands: Ambrosia, Jonagold, Pinova, Honeycrisp, Fuji, Pippin, Gala. She has picked each kind, knows them by color and shape, by feel, by the ease with which they will bruise. She beds them down in padded crates, grips the nails with her teeth, tapping the hammer softly against each lid. Then, with a crouch and hoist, she lifts the next box onto the stack. At camp, people are folding tents, sweeping out trailers. "Orale, mujer," comes a voice from behind. "Pick up the pace. Am I paying you to daydream?" Flavia glances over her shoulder at Cruz, the foreman. "Actually, my love," she says, "it's Jacobson who's paying. He's the boss, remember?" Cruz spits on the ground. She turns back to tap down another nail. Ambrosia, Jonagold, Pinova, Honeycrisp, Fuji, Pippin, Gala. The crates make a pyramid that points at the sun. "Pinche puta madre el sol," her friend Licha always says, sweating fat drops as she reaches into the trees from the top of her ladder. She says, "It's like a marshmallow on a stick over a campfire, held by the devil." "You say like that like the sun is some kind of new invention," Flavia tells her. "This is the worst it's ever been." And then Flavia has to remind her that she says the same thing every year. She hoists another box onto the stack now, wiping her forehead with the back of her sleeve. The orchards make green, irrigated, orderly rows in the distance, rippling in a cloud of their own humidity. "These trees have been here for generations," Jacobson announced to the group when Flavia was hired. "They deserve your respect." There was no mention of the surrounding fields, the yellow grass rolling unbroken all the way to the horizon, or the sky, cloudless with nothing to hold it down. When Flavia first arrived, the sky made her so dizzy she could barely look up. Licha once told her that this reaction has been passed down in their genes because their ancestors were always sacrificing each other to the sun gods. "It's an ancestral memory," she explained. Flavia twisted a pinova from the branch above her head. "What kind of memory?" "Never mind the past," Licha continued, dabbing at her hairline with a bandana. "What would you ask for if you could have anything right this moment?" Flavia snorted and nestled the apple into her bag. "A massage and a manicure and a Coke." Licha turned on her ladder. "But what more? Are you somebody's fairy godmother? Did you know that in Seattle," Licha said, "it rains so much that people take umbrellas with them wherever they go? They complain when it stops raining. Everything is green and gray, like Michoacan." Flavia glanced up at the sky. It was the color of a swimming pool. "You're full of shit," she told her. "It's only 2.5 hours away by car, girl." "So, what I want," Licha said as she moved her bag from one shoulder to the other, "is to have just one day to go where I really want to go." Flavia gave Licha a skeptical look. "Do you know anybody with a car?"
All right, as a performance poet, I invite you to shout at me and woos and rub your hands together. Do all the things that make you feel good while I'm reading. Take care of yourself. You wake up to, I am smiling and breathing and buried. The entombed speak from the grave. Wither under the weight of whiteness and cubicles and whiteness and fluorescent lights staging their demise. Slow death beneath inevitable gravity of 9 to 5 p.m. We keep doing this because otherwise we won't eat, and starving is not how our mothers raised us to be. There are several ways to talk about the haunted. 1, use their name. All too often we forget ourselves in someone else's memory. 2, acknowledge the shatter. We step over sharpness every day. We may as well clear the floor with a broom. May our feet walk well. 3, speak into the silence. When we pray into the space around the healing, the past listens as well. And future, he talks about fucking up commas but never shows the beat. To hear whispers and ancestors like a love Joan stuck between tits and sweat like rippled flesh swung twilight dark and noose against sons, daughters, Like silence poked holes in her lungs, another collapse. Like whirlwind, say it back. Exhale, next aerolith and a suspect. See, she never knew what color to dip her fingertips because most days she felt magenta underbelly and indigoed souls, eyes a fast-lit chartreuse and teal lip. Unlike a rainbow, she was mostly electric. She knows the allure of that black girl magic. She was perfect pitcher and cooled glass, ice center, crystal all her own bounty. Solid hammer, extended bat, broken cam. When is delicate fist worth more than peacock-tailed beauty fanned against faith? She's not safe. And no one is safe from the break. Her grandmother was a witch doctor. Seafoam green eyes and muddy skin. The earth shook when she spoke islands out of the sea, a place called home. She is still not safe. No one is safe from the break. The sun perched between her thighs, a gown of silk and spit sways against the wind's exhale. She asked the sky to return her purple labia in exchange for the low hum she remembers rattled at moon once the sun burned out. But now, all she can hear is the whir and click of her unhinged ribs stringing themselves back together in the shape of an opened mouth. She will devour each star until rendered black. She is not safe. No one is safe from the break. Her daughter, she wears a crown around her neck, one lone dove in the palm of her hand. She names it after her father's fallen eyelash. A bundle of sage burns at her feet. Smoke twists towards her gathered tin. She stops listening to her mother chewing heat, long enough to catch the bird's last breath. A copper leash, patterned after still heart of her grandmother's dust, swings in the mimic of smoke, proven ancestry. She is still not safe. We are still not safe from the ache, but we form ourselves indigo diamonds anyway.
On their next day off, before dawn, Licha pulled up in front of the trailer in a borrowed AMC Pacer. It bucked down the dirt road away from camp as she experimented with one foot on the gas, the other on the brake. Flavia braced a hand against the dash. Do you know how to drive? My husband showed me a few times. Now shut up. And then they were on the highway, where all you needed was gas. The yellow grass whipped past them almost horizontally, the sky blurred. A man could do this every day if he wanted to, Licha said. If he was married, he could just tell his wife, I'll be back in a couple of days, and nobody would look twice at him. It's the ones who have the babies who put roots in the earth. Flavia shrugged. This is news. I'm hungry, Licha said. She reached behind the seat and produced 2 Jonagolds. You could go to jail for that, Flavia said. She snatched up an apple and took a fat bite. To prison, Licha agreed. She crunched down, but I'm still going to name my next son Fuji. Flavia lifted her apple to the light. I'm going to name my first daughter Ambrosia. My first dog, Licha flicked her stem out the window, will be named Cruz. They laughed. Seattle, Flavia said. So you've been there before? Licha steered with 2 fingers. Never. Then how do you know where you're going? Licha shrugged. I live here, girl. And then Flavia had to point out with some excitement that Licha was swerving across the center lane and was going over the speed limit and that something under the hood was squealing. They stopped for gas, somewhere outside of Ellensburg. The clerk eyed them without speaking as he handed Flavia the restroom key. What do you want? Licha called out on her way to the cooler. A shitload of money, Flavia called back, and a vacation in Hawaii, and a cute guy to put on my suntan lotion at the beach, and world peace, and a Coke. She slipped out the glass doors and turned the corner to the restrooms, avoiding the cool glance of the woman who sidestepped her at the Slurpee machine. She was rounding the corner back toward the pumping bays, tugging up the zipper of her shorts when she saw the uniform. And how long have you been in the U.S., miss? The officer's voice was deep and slow. He pronounced his words very clearly. Flavia ducked back behind the corner and flattened herself to the wall. She leaned just enough to peek. The officer, regular police, the squad car was parked by the ice machine, had his back to her. Licha leaned against the open car door, the pump still plugged into the gas tank. Mr., I don't know, 13 years? The officer adjusted his sunglasses. May I see your proof of citizenship, please? The gas pump clicked off. Licha smiled, showing all her teeth. I did something? Your proof, please. Licha smiled, turned to glass. Meester, she said, please, 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 I got to be back by 3:30. And then Licha was gone. Cuffed, settled politely into the back seat of the squad car, driven off in the direction they had already been headed. Flavia stood for a long time beside the restroom doors, the hot wind ruffling her hair above the collar of her t-shirt. She left the key in the doorknob.
Hashtag Seattle. Thoughts after being spit on and called a hideous cunt in Capitol Hill. Every morning, 37th graders stand and pledge allegiance to a flag that will never honor their brown skin. Never work to minimize the saliva of white-mouthed hatred on their favorite winter coat. So no, I will not pledge my soul to the bottomless lynched heritage where ropes have turned to badges and registered 9mm strapped to white hips. Remorse, absent against wailing mothers with brown skin. The community left to bear witness. Broken like our ancestors' necks, strange fruit and poplar tree. There is something to be said for a society that fails to acknowledge the sway of bodies in post-racial wind. We, erasure, silent boundary, mixed chicks, mulattoes, indigenous Western girls tightrope tuck themselves into the thin lines swallowed by taut fiber, hoping twisted rope will render them invisible just so they can pass between the thin slats in the fence. It's funny how pretty girls get off with warnings, but black girls, they get arrested. When did pretty become skin-colored sentence behind stitched bars claiming freedom? But what does it mean to be captive parts piled beneath you are just a black girl, mule, and mammy, pickaninny, object oppressed, fried fish sundaes, and cheese grits, girl, nothing more than a word. And what does it take to fold ourselves into swan paper napkins? Is it the tuck-tuck of pretty edges, and pretty yourself, do not let the ragged edges show? Tuck yourself into pretty package, because pretty girls never show themselves uneven. It is ladylike to keep your fragments clean like ladies keep them. Secret like Nim, like amulet wearing Brisby, let's talk courage. The moment one decides to turn her edges into ridges, they be long tunnel traps for the open, empty opinions of the napkin-folded women, the silenced. Teach them to yell from those emotional cliffs until they no longer hold their frayed beauty in their hands and discover the magic and tattered edge be unfolded.
Blisters sprouted under Flavia's flip-flops on the long walk back. The yellow grass made her itch when she slept on the side of the road. Her heart pounded when passing semi-trucks laid into their horns. She tugged down the back of her shorts after they passed. You're late, Cruz told her when she arrived. I should fire you right now. I should put you on the list that makes sure you don't get hired next year. Where's your friend? She didn't tell him that she'd gone first to the school Licha's kids attend. She'd been there once before with Licha on a day school let out early, and that Beto's teacher, eyeing her dirty clothes and unbrushed hair, turned her away at the door of the classroom. Nor did she explain how the principal intercepted her before she made it to Aleja's class and escorted her to his office, where she was told the police had been called, then social services. Where was their father? Didn't the kids have any other relatives in the U.S.? I think in Colorado, she said, clasping her shaking hands. He gave her the number for social services. She stared and stared at the card. She didn't answer Cruz at all. She went back to the trailer with its plastic chairs and sleeping bags and the sounds of the portable toilets behind it, took off her makeup, found her jeans and flannel shirt and gloves and hat, and headed out to the orchard. The dust sticks to her lips now, in the creases she's begun to notice around her eyes. She wipes her face with the back of her glove and looks up at the cloudless sky, as though the sun was some kind of new invention. She turns away. She turns instead toward the rain. It's somewhere in her head how heavy the air is supposed to feel on summer afternoons before the world clouds over, and like a clock that strikes its bell every day at the same time, it all comes crashing down. Then there you go, under the awnings on the street. The water rushes through the gutters, the shop windows steam, the palms in the park nod their heavy green heads under the weight, the hummingbirds still themselves. Your mother sorts the beans on the table, and the radio is always on, and outside the kitchen window in the hard earth between cinder block apartments, a patch of corn grows under the laundry hung out to dry. It never dries. You wait at home in the rain because your husband went north years ago. Sometimes he sends money and sometimes he doesn't, and there's no work. There's no one left in this town but old ladies looking after the kids who stay behind. You're one of the last to leave. The puddles in the street ripple with slick motor oil rainbows. But the memory is also slipping from her now. It's a picture she sees on TV. Because the longer she lives here in the yellow grass under this dizzying, wide-open sky, the harder it is to remember with true memory, the kind she can feel in the palms of her hands, that lives in the body, the way her sons once lived in her body. Adrian with the mole behind one ear, Manuel tilting his chin down when he smiled, the fat of their cheeks, their silky long lashes, their heads always smelling of sweet sweat and strawberry-scented shampoo. Could she recognize them by smell now? She sends money. She buys phone cards. Her boys say less and less, with voices that are deeper each time, almost starting to break. They tell her they have to go. Someone is waiting. Always someone is waiting, but this doesn't matter, she tells herself. They're fed, they're in school, one school, not 8 or 9 every year. It doesn't matter what she feels hardening inside of her. They have a home, they are safe. Ambrosia, Jonagold, Pinova, Honeycrisp, Fuji, Pippin, Kayla. The nails make her mouth taste of rust.
So this is a lot of my older poetry, which is really embarrassing for me to read. So just bear with my life tonight. This is from my second collection of work called Beloved Collision. Hand-painted doors. I am wilted water lily in gray Seattle sunrise, staring at my center. In the hopes of finding some petaled knob, some sugar-sliced wooded entry, intrigue never formed itself wide, so I separate the bone, stitch my chest patterned and call it presence. Lovely stillness, round mouth, gasp, forget, and then I forge it. Therapy notes, session 3, as relayed by my cunt. Patricia has forgotten she is soft tissue and want. She no longer finds hands holy enough to explore delicate flesh marked survived, or lips honest enough to open and encircle. She has given up one-day white dress and kids because she knows love has never run that deep, and the woman's dream only falls on brave feet. Patricia has never really been all that courageous. She's always hunched, shoulder hid behind the threat of victim and self-harm's lonely. The only place safety remembered how to cradle her whole again. Patricia, she hates collecting fragments. She always knows when a break is close to shatter and who will deliver the breaking blow. She is intuitive that way. She knows. But Patricia has always been shown. So she is learning to show up and out and stretch and forget the rest. She does not remember the first time glass fell into place. The translucent window into a world that was not her own, breath hot against glass, clouded circle fans itself direction, enslaves the inhale present, reminds the captured of her predicament. She is removed, will never consider herself tangible because they have forgotten to ask if she is real. If she has associated her absence with depression or alcoholism or lesbianism or queerism or blackism or brokenism or silent, see, woman, she is contestant, tepid observer in a game she cannot win and will not escape. The glass never lifts. She has forgotten what skin feels like. Is this alone? Do the figures inside consider themselves present with her shadow because they never see her face? Only the faint outline of heat against tempered glass. And beauty is never as polished, never as full, never as passionate as it seems. In fact, it's more like Oz. You know, poppies and fishnet stockings to swing you full force into a one-night stand and a tab at the end of the night. And much like the moon, I am the constant in the expanse of everyone else's sky. The one predictable breath each day, reminding them of their own darkness, their own burning lights that form constellation. I conjure their tides like foam-tipped waves against loose rock. Saturate what was once motionless. Bring it in to the self. I dissolve and soften ego layers thick. Expose the newly formed, vulnerable, wet.
We are continuing the traditions of our ancestors, Licha once told her as they stacked crates. These are the pyramids of our generation. This time built by women, of course. Flavia laughed. What should we sacrifice on top of them, a chicken or just Cruz? She hoists a crate from the stack and pushes it onto the tailgate of the waiting truck. She's always had strong arms, has always been good at lifting and carrying boxes, backpacks, babies. She could have raised her hand to wave at the gas station, could have caught Licha's eye and told her with only a look that she would buy a phone card, she would find the kids, she would care for them, keep them safe. But Licha never once looked in her direction, never gave her away, and the only thing Flavia could feel was a deep and throbbing relief. She can't bring herself to stare down the long gaze of the guy in the truck bed whose gloved hands reached for her crate, as though he could see the place within her where she couldn't block his touch, as though no one could see either of them. Today or tomorrow, when the apples are finished, it will be time to move on to pears. Then come the Asian pears and the late raspberries, the short season of plums, purple and red and yellow. There was a time when she wouldn't have believed so many existed. Potatoes and squashes and greens, the Christmas tree farms, hothouse strawberries and asparagus as the earth turns from brown to green again, as she follows the great wheel that always turns back to apples. These trees have been here for generations, Jacobson told them all, and they will outlast you. Flavia lifts another crate and wonders if somehow, impossibly, on the day she arrived, she'd had a seed and a place to plant it. How big would her tree be now? How much fruit would it have borne? How far down would it reach? The sun burns the back of her neck. She closes her eyes. If she had an empty Coke bottle, she would hurl it at the sky, watch it arc, let it shatter, but still the sun would shine on. And already someone is calling, "Por Dios, mujer, vámonos."
Little Red. chest full of fists and uninterrupted tears for organs. Body shook wails her like shroud. She's this hooded story that no wolf has ever read, and she wonders if she will become a little less red, a little less little, because she reads star-spangled bodies like year-long horoscopes splattered across the only sky she has ever known. Every wrinkle, a galaxy discovered by her own touch. All right, this last piece is a pantoum, which, oh, pantoums. They're my favorite. So yeah, hopefully you like it. It's called Soul Retrieval. You find her, coiled but unbound, strewn across peppermint lily field, memory distended. Ego dancing leaf to leaf, macrocosm arched over singular. Strewn across peppermint lily field, she is frozen in time. Witness to leaf, macrocosm arched over singular petal, mess of red bled into white, she is frozen in time. Witness her drunken laugh produce stars. Petal mess of red bled into white, the sky takes on a particular darkness. Her drunken laugh produces star-spun sound wave aspiration. The sky takes on a particular darkness under the pressure. She God spun sound wave aspiration to contain the universe. One blink under the pressure, she God begins to unravel. Stretched limbs to contain the universe, one blink serves as time. Infinite plural pattern begins to unravel. Stretched limbs past recognition, color fades. Serves as time, infinite plural pattern. Born of 30 sun revolutions, brown past recognition. Color fades into mosaic world iced. Stillborn of 30 sun revolutions, brown body. A lifetime served feminine into mosaic world iced still. Survived, inscribed across this wilted body. A lifetime served feminine is infernal burned ashen phoenix. Survived, inscribed across this wilted garden. A duality played plain is inferno burned ashen. Phoenix lives life neon blaze garden. A duality played plain is apologetic existence. She never wanted this. Infinite lives. Life neon blaze, tail feather swung wide. Never wanted this bow of submission. Dismiss. Tail feather swung wide. Memory distended. Ego dancing leaf, bow of submission dismiss. You find her, coiled but unbound. Thank you.